Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Was a warm, sunny weekend here in Florida, good golf weekend, while most of the rest of the country, might not be fair to say most, but a large portion of the country was dealing with some severe winter weather. The Northeast got snowed in. I think I read an article at one point that there was a storm moving across the United States that was going to affect 280 million people, which is pretty amazing. So while it was frigid and snowy in much of the country, it was sunny and 80 degrees in Florida, and people were out playing golf. But to start this week, I'd like to read an article. It comes from golf.com. It was written by Josh Sens, and I thought it was an interesting read. It's about the handicap system. So I'm just going to read the article and hope if you're driving in your car or hanging out that you find it as interesting as I did. So here it goes. How'd you play last year? Don't give us your gut feeling. Supply us with hard numbers, the kind of stats you get from counting every stroke and posting every score. That's what is required to keep an accurate handicap. It's not hard. Lots of people do it. 3.68 million golfers in the United States alone. In 2025, they posted 82 million rounds under the World Handicap System, a domestic record. The USGA counted everyone and crunched those numbers to produce the 2025 Golf Scorecard, a compendium of data-driven findings that provide a snapshot of trends in the game. Here are 7 that caught our eye. The 3.68 million golfers who kept a handicap in 2025 represent an 8.2% bump from 2024 and a 46% jump since 2020. Another way to put it is that the number of golfers who keep handicaps has increased by around 1.16 million since COVID hit. With so many new golfers taking up the game, you might expect handicap averages to go up, but there hasn't been dramatic change in those numbers. In 2025, the average handicap was 14 for male golfers and 28.8 for female golfers. In 2020, those numbers were 14.2 and 27.7 respectively. The more things change, the more they reveal that this game is really hard. A lot of golfers dream of getting down to scratch. Very few do. Only 2% of male golfers have handicaps of 0 or lower. Female scratch golfers are even harder to come by. They make up just 0.85% of girls and women who keep handicaps. When you've got year-round weather and courses on every corner, the numbers add up. Florida golfers logged more total rounds than any other state in 2025. The Sunshine State's dominance in raw volume comes as a shock to absolutely no one who's ever spent January anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon line. Here's one we didn't see coming. Despite having one of the shortest seasons in the country, Maine claimed the title of Northeast's golfiest state. The USGA's formula divided total rounds posted by the number of golfers keeping a handicap, then divided again by the number of days the scoring system was open for posting. Turns out, when you can only play half the year, you make every available day count. Florida led the Southeast, Wisconsin topped the Midwest, Colorado ruled the Central region, and Arizona won the West. If you're looking for the lowest handicap average for men in the nation, head to Arkansas. Golfers in the natural state posted better numbers than anywhere else in the country. Whether it's the quality of instruction, the courses, or just a particularly dedicated group of players grinding away at their games, Arkansas earned bragging rights as home to America's best golfers by average handicap, 10.6 for men and 22 for women. Among golfers who established a handicap in 2025, half of all women's posted scores came from 9-hole rounds. For men, that figure was about a quarter. The data confirms what many had already suspected. Shorter formats are attracting players who don't have 4 hours to spare, and 9 holes is just as legitimate a way to enjoy the game. Career days were surprisingly common. I never play that well, your opponent tells you as he pockets your money after the round. We're not saying you were sandbagged. USGA isn't saying it either. but the governing body does track unusually low scores, rounds that fall well below a player's established pattern. These exceptional score reductions trigger a handicap adjustment to keep things fair. In 2025, golfers posted plenty of outlier rounds, the kind where everything just happens to click. The system flagged them and made the appropriate tweaks to keep handicaps a more accurate reflection of ability. And then it ends with, to browse the entire report yourself, click here. So I'll add a link in the show notes, and the entire report is here. But thought it was an interesting article. The average handicap in the United States for men is 14, which means that I am not yet an average golfer. So with my handicap as of today, 15.8, I still have some work to do to get to 14. The other interesting thing I think that I noticed here is that for male golfers, if you take from 10 to 19.9, that makes up almost half of all male golfers. So it's 48.68% of male golfers reside between 10 and 19.9. The ladies are spread out a little further. So a couple of the other thoughts I had while reading through this is that while the average handicap for a male is 14, it's for people that keep handicaps. So how many people are out there playing golf that do not keep handicaps, and what really is an average golfer? This is a fair number. I think I see a lot of people out on the golf course that are in that 14 to 15 range. So I do buy that that's a good average, but I do wonder how many people are out there playing that don't keep a handicap. And if you could somehow include them in this, what then would the average handicap be? The other thing that struck me is the percentage of golfers that are scratch or better. So 10 to 14.9 handicap is 26.48% of all golfers. 5 to 9.9 is 19.57. 0 to 4.9 is 8.23. And scratch or better is 2%. So it's pretty amazing how few golfers make it to that level. And this, along with a couple of other things that happened this weekend, made me think about greatness. And I'm not saying that greatness is a scratch handicap. It's pretty good. But I think once I get into this, you'll see where I'm going with greatness. So the first thing that led me down this path this weekend was Alex Honnold. And if you don't know who Alex Honnold is, he's a rock climber. And he's famous for a movie that came out in 2018 called Free Solo. And basically it was a movie about Alex climbing a mountain free solo, which means by himself, without ropes, without hooking up, the kind of climbing that if you make a mistake, you never climb again. That's what Alex does. And this past weekend, he climbed a skyscraper in Taipei. It was supposed to happen here in the States. It was supposed to happen on Friday night. It was postponed due to weather and didn't happen until Saturday evening. So came on TV, 8 o'clock Saturday night, and backing up. So to back up to when Free Solo came out, initially I wasn't sure what to make of it. And I watched it by myself. And if you haven't seen it, it is such a compelling movie. I think it's still on Netflix. Like I highly recommend it. So I watched it by myself, was blown away, and then watched it with my family, my wife, my sons, and it kicked off. First of all, we went down a rabbit hole of watching other rock climbing movies, but for a period of time, and I think it really only got derailed by the pandemic, we started going to indoor rock climbing gyms. And I would guess that this happened with a lot of indoor rock climbing gyms. They got a whole lot busier after Free Solo came out, but never before had we been interested in climbing, and this one documentary changed that. So we all knew who Alex was. We're interested to see his climb that happened on Saturday night. And basically, like I said, he climbed a skyscraper live on Netflix. And it's just something amazing to watch. And I've got to say, he made it look easy. And this is the first part of my, I guess, my ramble on greatness. Is it took him about an hour and a half, and truly from the sidewalk, kind of hopped onto the building and climbed for an hour and a half until he reached the absolute peak of this building. And it's one of the tallest buildings in the world. There were some shots that made me queasy sitting at home looking down from where he was on this building. And like I said, he just made it look easy. And I think that that's part of helping to define greatness. When someone does something that is truly challenging, difficult, scary, death defying, and makes it look like climbing a ladder or walking down the sidewalk, it's just an amazing thing to watch a human being do something like that. And I was worried for him because generally on these climbs, he's without distraction, he's out alone. And as he's climbing the skyscraper, there are people in the building, like looking back out at him, holding up signs, waving, taking selfies. And he took that all in pretty well and seemed to have a good time with it, which again goes back to he made it look easy. And I think the building was, and again, I hate to use the word easy, but compared to climbing a mountain, it was repetitive. It was the same motions, the same things over and over and over again for an hour and a half. Now, the physical ability to be able to do that and the strength and the stamina and the flexibility are all just amazing things. And the mindset and the concentration are crazy. So if you haven't seen it, if you have Netflix and you want to watch something that you just think, how can a human being do that? I think Free Solo is better. I would highly recommend Free Solo, but watching Alex climb this skyscraper on Saturday night was something else. So that was my first, I don't know what to call it, but interaction with greatness over the weekend. My second came on Sunday afternoon, and I did play golf Saturday and Sunday. And one of the conversations on the golf course both days was the FedEx tournament that was happening, golf tournament. One of the first golf tournaments of the year, first time you're getting to see some of the big names. But the thing that people were talking about was Blades Brown. And Blades Brown is an 18-year-old golfer who played in the final group on Sunday, was leading the tournament at one point. He played in the final group on Sunday with Siwoo Kim and Scotty Scheffler. And while Sunday did not turn out to be Blades Day, it did turn out to be another day to witness the greatness of Scotty Scheffler. And it's an amazing thing because people can beat him over 18 holes. You can beat him over 36 holes. But to beat this guy throughout an entire tournament is so difficult. He's so good. He's so consistent. He's great. And it just struck me that while I turned in to see Blades and wanted to see how he held up, and he did fine on Sunday. I think he shot, I don't know if he shot even par, one over par, but Scotty just ran away with it and had a 6-stroke lead over the field going into the 17th hole. The 17th hole is a par 3 island green, and one of the few mistakes you'll ever see him make. Scotty left the ball outright that went in the water and made his first double bogey of the week, made a 5 on 17. But it didn't matter because he was up 6 strokes. So he still won by 4 strokes, beating Jason Day, Ryan Gerard, Matt McCarty, and Andrew Putnam, who were all 23 under. Scotty finished 27 under. And it just made me think about that level of consistency, that level of greatness. So going back to the number of people that make it to scratch and keep handicaps being at 2%, there's levels to this thing, right? Then there's a whole nother level to somebody who can go out and make a living playing golf on the PGA Tour, the very best of the best. And then of those people, inevitably, there always seems to be a Tiger Woods, a Phil Mickelson, a David Duval. Jason Day was that for a while. And right now, it's Scotty Scheffler, who he's just better than everybody out there. And it's amazing that, and I'm sorry, I left out Rory McIlroy. There's moments in time where people rise to the level where they're just better than everybody else out there in the field. But to sustain that is really difficult. And Scotty's done it for a few years now. It will be really interesting to see if he can continue. I think a lot goes on: health, injury, age. There's a lot of things that can derail a golfer. But coming out of the gates to start the season, he's looking really good. And I started to think about his performance versus what I just talked about with Alex Honnold. So in what Alex is doing, he can't make a mistake. It doesn't really matter whether he's 50 feet in the air, 100 feet in the air, 1,000 feet in the air. If he makes a mistake without ropes, without harnesses from any of those heights and falls to the ground, that's it. He's done. He absolutely cannot make a mistake. And to this point in his life, he hasn't. Look at Scotty, and as great as he is, he puts one in the water on 17. If Alex makes that mistake, he's falling off of a building to his death in front of God knows how many people watching on Netflix. But I think it says something about golf, that this guy is the best on the planet at this game. And it's still such a difficult thing to do that even he, 6 strokes up, separating himself from the rest of the field, the rest of the world, one little mistake, ball in the water, double bogey. And I guess it's another one of these things that it should give me a comparison, a frame of reference, so that when things don't go well in my own golf game and I leave a ball out to the right or short or long and hit one out of bounds, that, man, Scotty can do it. The rest of us can too. The other thing I thought about is why is it that we believe, and I apologize if I'm throwing everybody else in there with me, it goes back to what I said about it looks easy. So you see Alex Honnold scale a mountain, climb a building. It looks easy, but there's not a moment that I sit there and I think, like, I could do that. Not for a second. But golf's a funny thing. You see Scotty out there, and he just looks like a normal dude. And I don't know, it gives me, I think, some sort of false sense of belief that the game is easy. I don't think that climbing a mountain or climbing a building is easy. And I don't really think that golf is easy. But you see, again, somebody's just a normal guy swinging a golf club, and you feel like, I should be able to get better at this. I'm not going to be Scotty Scheffler, but why shouldn't I be, at the very least, an average golfer? And if not, an above average golfer? And why is it different than other sports? And again, I think it is, if you look at LeBron James and what he's accomplished in basketball, you could say, well, I'm not a 6'8", chiseled, 260-pound specimen with a 40-inch vertical leap, right? That there's physical limitations that separate me from LeBron James. But when you look at a guy like Scotty, you don't see that. And it makes you think, you look at John Daly and he's doing commercials. He's much more in the public eye now. And he would drag me on a golf course, drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, drunk out of his mind. There's so much talent there, but you look at a guy like that, and you don't come away thinking that dude is a physical specimen. Like, I get why he can do the things that he can do. And it's one of the things that tricks us about golf. Over the summer, my son and I went on a golf trip. We were at TPC Sawgrass in Florida, and they had great practice facilities. And we're at an area where you can chip and pitch to a green. And there was a girl that I would guess teens, 12, 13, 14 years old. She's probably 45 or 50 yards out from the green, pitching balls in, and you could put a hula hoop down, and ball after ball after ball after ball landed in a circle that was 3 feet in diameter. It's an amazing thing to see. And you think, like, if she can do it, I should be able to do that. But what I forget, what I dismiss, what I diminish is the amount of practice, the amount of effort that goes into being able to hit golf balls like that. I do think, I don't want to say that anybody can do it. I do think that there's certain physical attributes and a skill set and hand-eye coordination. There's things that go into it. But with enough practice, you can get good at these kinds of things. And I don't know, it's just one of those things that see those kinds of things. And then I go out and I have a rough round of golf and I think, man, I should be better at this. I should be getting better at this faster, but it's such a difficult game. So what do you think? Chime in. Am I right in that because golfers look like average people, and we can certainly go to a golf course, swing a golf club, hit a ball, is there something about it that makes us believe that it should be easier than it is? And then when you get out there, you figure out what a challenging game it can be. Am I making any sense, or am I just rambling on this week in my train of thought on greatness and why I view Scotty's golf greatness different than I view Alex's climbing greatness? Let me know. So the opposite of greatness right now is my golf game. And I mentioned last week that I was going to do a golf tech update. So I did have a lesson this week and went in, always start out, have a conversation with Reggie. How's your golf game? And I told him that I was frustrated, that I thought I had taken a few steps back and that one of my strengths had been iron play and specifically par 3 play. Pretty regularly, I would average less than, quite often, I'd average 3 to 3.5 in terms of strokes on the par 3s that I would play in a day. And lately, I feel like I've been averaging double bogey on all par 3s that I play. And when he asked me why, I said, my distances are fine. I feel like whatever the number is, if it's 130 yards or 160 yards, I can get the ball to that number, but my left to right dispersion has been all over the place. And I said, there's a par 3 on the back that ranges from 115 to 130 yards. So it's a short par 3. And I'll miss it, not short, I'll miss it left. Left has been the miss lately by 40 yards. So I still have a 40-yard shot into 115-yard par 3s. And it's frustrating. I don't know why all of a sudden my accuracy is so far off. So start swinging the golf club and And it happens, which is good that my accuracy starts to get a little willy-nilly. I'm a little all over the place with my shots. And he pauses as I swing and he said, this is the problem with your golf swing. And we've had this conversation before. And the problem with my golf swing is obviously there's a problem with club face control, but the problem with club face control stems from a flipping of the wrist, which from what Reggie tells me is a very normal thing for amateur golfers, that in our mind, we believe that the goal is to get the golf ball up into the air. So to get the golf ball up into the air, we flip our wrist. We try and shovel almost the ball up into the air. And by doing that, we don't make as clean a contact as we should. And it creates problems with club face control and can create some of these big misses. And I can see it. I watch the video, I see it, and I know I do it. I know that I flip my wrist, and it's been a problem for a while. Thing is, some days all the timing works and I hit the ball really well. So it goes back to a consistency problem. But other days, the timing's off just a little bit. And when the timing's off just a little bit, things can get erratic. So in complete agreement, gave me some drills, worked on really trying not to allow, and I'm a right-hand golfer, not allow my right hand to take over, to focus on the back of my left hand, make sure that I keep good structure through the ball, don't flip the wrist. And the thing that I'm finding really challenging is I can get to the ball with the proper wrist position, but in my mind, I'm struggling with the follow through and figuring out how to generate power without that flipping motion. But I do think that I've got to conquer this. I've got to solve this. If I want to play more consistent golf, I have got to fix this problem. So went through the lesson. I spent another hour hitting balls, working on it. Both Saturday and Sunday I played. Both days went to the range, worked primarily on this, but I've got a lot of work to do. I have got a lot of work to do to try and solve this problem. I've got to figure out, again, I can get to the ball. I've got to figure out how to get through the ball I'm struggling with. So it's not a huge surprise that when I take a lesson and I work on something new, that my golf game goes further south than it already was. But just to back up for a second, last week I talked about tips, things that I've learned, things that I think would help other new golfers or high handicap golfers. And one of the things that I talked about was playing used or inexpensive golf balls. And went on I don't want to say a long rant, but did talk quite a bit about, especially when you're starting out, that it's an expense. Golf balls are an expense. And depending on the course that you play, if you're going out and you're losing 4, 5, 6, 8, which has happened to me, golf balls over the course of a round, it can add quite a bit of expense to your round. So my suggestion was, and I play lake balls, used balls, and have for a while. I would guess it saved me hundreds of dollars over the past couple of years. And I said that I have never really seen any difference between those balls and new balls. And as I do every week, I ask people to chime in and send a comment. Let me hear what you think. And I received a comment from a listener from Calm, and I just want to read what he had to say. And he said, I started with lake balls, but found there's value in sticking to the one type of ball. Feel and response of the putter varies hugely from model to model. Of the putter, it's important to have confidence in knowing what the ball will do. Also, I like a softball with high spin to give consistent control in the short game. It's nice to know a pitch or a chip will grip and check up quickly for an up and down. And I read the comment and I responded back. And first of all, Colm, if you're out there, truly, thanks again. I do want this to be a community effort. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the comment. And as I said in my reply back, I think it's an excellent point. And I couldn't help after reading it thinking that playing a variety of balls, used balls as a beginning golfer, I still think makes a lot of sense. But I'm not the same golfer today that I was when I started. I've gone from a 35 handicap to a 15. And at some point, it does make sense to go back and find a ball that I like, that matches my game, that I feel confident standing over. And purely from a scientific standpoint, I need to play a new ball and find out if it does feel different. I've been playing these used balls again, really nonstop for at least a year, maybe 18 months. And as my game has evolved, the only way to really find out if it's still the right thing to do is to go out and buy a dozen new balls, which I did based on that comment, which again, I think was right on the mark. And I thought, let me go out and let me buy a dozen new golf balls and let's see if I feel it, if it makes a difference. So went to the store, bought Shrixon Q-Star tour balls. And it's the ball that when I first started playing that I like to play. I like the way it felt. I thought it was a good golf ball. I paid. They're about $40 a dozen. So it's not the most expensive ball out there, but it's a quality golf ball. And I brought them out with me to play on Saturday and Sunday. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for me to really figure out what I like, what I should be playing. What I would say is on Saturday, I did feel like I liked the way the ball was reacting off of the face of my driver. I thought the flight, the path, the distance were predictable based on how I hit the ball. They were going where I thought they should go, which isn't always center of the fairway, but based on the contact, when I hit the ball well, I thought they did react really well off of the club face. Now, it's unfortunate. I had two really rough days on the golf course on Saturday and Sunday. And Colm, I promise you, that's not your fault. It's not the golf balls. What it did stem back to is the golf lesson and trying to not flip, trying to keep the structure in my left hand, that left wrist through the ball is a big change. It's a really big change for me. And it created some issues. My last 3 rounds of golf have not been good. It's been a 97, a 98, and a 96. And the amazing thing is, on Saturday, I went out, I hit a good drive, good second shot. This is par 5. Third shot onto the green. I birdied the first hole of the day. On Saturday, I birdied the first hole and I birdied the 16th hole, and everything else was a mess. And it's amazing. Most days, I never have everything going. I don't think anybody, maybe Scotty Scheffler does. Driver, approach shots, chips and pitches and putts. Maybe at the very top of the game, people have it all going. I'm happy if I've got 2 of the 4. 3 of the 4 is going to be a really good day. I can tell you on Saturday, I was 0 for 4. Driver was all over the place. The approach shots I struggled with again because of the things that I had been working on. Struggled around the greens to get up and down. And my putting was just horrendous. It's the worst putting day I've had in a long time. I go back out on Sunday and my putting improved. My driving accuracy improved, but did not hit the ball well. And it's another day where I hit 0% of greens in regulation, which is, it's just amazing to me. It's amazing that I can go out and play 18 holes and not hit a single green in regulation. So I'm in a bit of a slump. I finished 2025 really good. Handicap on the way down, playing some good golf for me. And as I start 2026, I'm struggling. I do think it's all part of the journey. I've got to get this flipping thing under control. And I think as I work on it, it's going to hurt my game for a bit. But if I can get there, I think it's my next opportunity to make a leap forward. So I may go backwards for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but when I get it, I think it's going to change things. And I think it's going to allow me to solve some of my dispersion issues and make better contact, more consistent contact with my irons. So I think that's it. And I think that's enough for one podcast. We covered snowstorms, Scotty, mountain climbing, handicaps, and greatness. And while golf greatness isn't in the cards for me, man, I sure would like to get better. But I'd also like to hear from you about greatness. Am I right in that some people are so good at what they do and make it look so easy that it tricks us, it fools us into thinking, I should be able to do that. when the reality is, it's tough to appreciate how good somebody like Scotty is over a golf ball, or Alex is at scaling the side of a mountain. So please, Spotify, feel free to leave a comment. Email me at breaking80over50@gmail.com. I'll read every comment, every email. Call them. I appreciate it. Whether it helped my golf game or not, I was excited. It was fun to go out and buy the first new dozen golf balls that I've played in quite some time. Felt good over the balls, and was really interested to see how I played. And while my play wasn't great, it's okay. It's hard to complain when, like I said, most of the country was buried under a snowstorm, and I was on the golf course with friends on a sunny 80-degree day playing golf. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Would love to hear from you. I know it's that time of the year where you may not be out playing golf. And if you're not, what are you working on? Tell me about your off season. And I'm going to keep working on it. Like I said, greatness may not be in the cards, but I'm going to figure it out, man. And I'm going to get better at this game. And I'll keep you posted on that adventure. So thanks for being here. I'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody. If you made it this far, thank you. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you hung in there for the whole show. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like, subscribe, and maybe share this with a friend. It really helps to grow the community. And let me know you're out there. If you listen on Spotify, leave a comment or a question, or send me an email at breaking80over50@gmail.com. I promise I'll read every one. All music was provided by Epidemic Sound, and I'll leave links to any of the content that I mentioned during the podcast in the show notes. Keep swinging, keep smiling, and remember, it's a game. Get out there and have fun. Thanks, everybody.